Star Wars The Last Jedi is finally here, arguably the most anticipated movie of 2017. I just went to see this movie and my initial thoughts were, wow, they did some pretty ballsy stuff with this movie. I'm not going to go too deep into the details of the story, but it picks up right off from the end of The Force Awakens. We see Rey handing over the lightsaber to Luke. We see the continuation of the resistance against the First Order. And I'm not going to go into details too much. First thing I want to talk about is the story, because the story, like I said, was quite ballsy. There are several arcs in this movie. Each character have their own arcs, which is what I like about this movie a lot. Each character have a purpose in there. Well, most of them at least. I'm not going to say which, but there is one character in particular which I feel like they could cut his arc a bit. I just spoiled that it's a he, and maybe it wouldn't affect the movie too much. But the arc, each of the arcs are great. I love Rey's arc, especially when she is in the island with Luke. I enjoy Poe's arc a lot. Leia's arc is great. And Kylo Ren, I really like him in this movie. I was 50-50 with him in The Force Awakens. I really like his arc in this movie. All of the characters in this movie really have a growth. You can really tell that they have growth and character development, which is really obvious, and I really like that aspect of that they have that in this movie. But one character arc, two character arc, because they're together in this movie, is Rose, which is played by Kelly Marie Tran, the brand new character, and also Finn. They are together for most of the movie, and at sometimes I feel like their arc is very out of the realm. Well, I feel like their arc is forced. Did you see what I did there? Forced. Anyway, their arc feels like very separated from the movie. It feels like a different movie on its own, sort of. And I feel like if they cut their arc a bit, it would help the runtime, because the movie does feel long, and I do hear some complaints that the people saying that movie is long, and I do agree with that. I wouldn't say it's way too long, because I was really invested in the movie, and I really love everything about this. Well, I don't love everything about the story. There are some things that I'm going to talk about in my spoiler review, but I do like some aspects of the story. I really like the performance, like I said. Mark Hamill is back as Luke Skywalker. It's been 30 years. Well, is it 30 years in real life? I don't remember, since the Return of the Jedi was the last time we actually see him, and we don't really... Well, Force Awakens, he was there. But in here, we actually see Mark Hamill perform as Luke Skywalker. And this is my favorite performance for Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker throughout the Star Wars saga. I feel like they really showcase him in this movie. Like I said, I like his arc, and his performance was just outstanding. It was really great. I was really sold by everything that he did. And there was recent comments saying that Mark Hamill thinks that the Luke arc doesn't really make sense, and it wasn't something that Luke would do. But I was so convinced by his performance, and it makes sense to me totally, because I was so immersed in his performance and in the world and in the story that they're telling. Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, well, General Leia, we know she's gone, she's no longer with us, but her performance still is great. It touched me. There was a scene in particular which I feel like they really do justice for her character, and I really like her performance in this movie. Rey, once again, was good. There was another scene in this movie which I feel like Daisy Ridley was fantastic in doing this. Poe Dameron, played by Oscar Isaac, was great. Poe Dameron's story have significantly grown since the previous movie, and I really like how Oscar Isaac treats his character, and he's starting to grow more like a sort of like a Han Solo, like a smug pilot, which we already sort of see in the previous movie, but we're seeing more of that, and I really like the arc and the performance. Andy Serkis, who plays Supreme Leader Snoke, of course, a mocap, motion capture performance. He was great. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority, but I feel like the CG is kind of off a bit. But his performance was great. He's convincing. He is menacing. Snoke is menacing. But my favorite performance in this movie is Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. I really like his performance in this one. He really convinced me of his arc. There is I feel like both him and Rey has very complex progression of their character, and he really convinced me. I was really immersed with everything that he did, and his performance was just outstanding. I want to go to the cinematography. The cinematography in this movie was fantastic. Rian Johnson, who directed this movie, did a really great job in filming and shooting not only the fight scenes in space, of course, the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing, it looked great, Millennium Falcon looked great. There was a fight scene in the planet which looks fantastic, just the color and the color grading was great. But there was a lightsaber fight scene, which the lightsaber fight scene itself is one of the most amazing lightsaber fight scene, in my opinion, in a Star Wars movie. One of my favorite scenes in any Star Wars movie, in my opinion. It's so great. It gives such a thrill and joy seeing that scene. But the cinematography of that, having a wide shot and having everything in that scene, it was just so great. I love that particular scene. If you watch the movie, you will know what scene I'm talking about. The action in this movie is really outstanding. I think it's a step up from The Force Awakens, which was a great thing because Force Awakens have really good action, but in this movie, the action was top notch. Let's go back to the story here, and like I said, they took some chances, and it was really ballsy what Rian Johnson did. They did some stuff which I feel like, wow, okay, that's surprising. But there are some stuff also which I was like, okay, yeah, I sort of can predict that. But just the thought of him daring to do that in a Star Wars movie was quite ballsy. I'm not going to say what, of course, but there are some stuff which, to be honest, I don't really like. I feel like if it wasn't there, it would have been better. And also relating to the story, there are some characters that I feel like, even though there are some characters that was done justice, I feel like some characters I want to see more of. I want to see a different angle for that character, and we didn't see that in this movie. And I feel like it doesn't diminish from the movie, but if they have that, it would have been so much better, because there are several characters that I have in my mind that I feel like, wow, I would have wanted to see more, but it just didn't happen. Let's talk about porks. Are they the next Ewoks? Are they the next Jar Jar Binks? Do you think they're gonna be annoying? Are they bad? Well, they're hilarious. I find them cute, and good thing they're not the next Jar Jar Binks. They don't annoy me that much. They're just right. If there have been too much of the porks, I feel like it could have gone to the Ewoks level, which become ridiculous. But it is just right, and I wouldn't mind seeing more porks in the upcoming movie. And talking about porks and hilariousness, this movie is actually quite funny. There are some jokes that I feel like land quite well. There are some other jokes that I feel like, oh, they wish it would have land better, but it didn't land that well. But it's surprising because the trailer shows it as one of the darkest Star Wars movies, I guess. And I expect it to be quite serious. And there is some jokes, and I do think it's appropriate, doesn't feel out of place. But like I said, some jokes hit and some jokes don't. It's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling into details. But like I said, the main thing that I have issues with this movie is some of the stuff that happens, some of the story, I really like a lot. Some of them I was like, it not that it doesn't make sense. It's like sometimes it just feels out of place. Sometimes it feels like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. But there are some scenes that really thrilled me. And if you ask me right now, how would I rank it, the Star Wars movie? I wouldn't say it's the best Star Wars movie. And if you ask me if it's better than Force Awakens, it's tough, because I really like The Force Awakens. I've watched it a couple of times and I've only watched this once. So if you ask me right now, I would say, oh, it's a tough one, but I would put Force Awakens above this, because there is just so much more satisfying moments, in my opinion, in Force Awakens than in this movie. And what this movie did was, like I said, ballsy. And maybe if I watch it a couple more times, I'll appreciate it more. But at this point, I have to put it slightly under Force Awakens, because there are some stuff that I really, at this point, like, okay, I wish that didn't happen, like I said, or I wish they didn't do this. But like I said again, there are some stuff that I really like. overall, this is a good movie. I like it. I enjoy it. The lightsaber fights were awesome. The cinematography was great. The battles with all the ships, the aircraft, not aircraft, the spaceships, TIE fighter, everything, AT-AT, if you know that from trailer, everything looked great. The arcs, I really like all of the arcs. I like Kylo's arc the most, but I really love what they did with Carrie Fisher, with Luke, and with Rey, Daisy Ridley. And like I said, Poe character progression was great. The only thing that feels out of place was Finn and Rose. I feel like if they cut that down, it would help a lot with the runtime and with the story to be more tight. Yeah, there are a lot of stuff that was surprising to me. There were some stuff that I was like, oh, okay. But overall, it's a great movie. It was really tense. There's moments where I was like, okay, I wish that they didn't. There's moments where I was like really rooting for the characters. There's moments like, oh wait, please don't do that. And then that happened. I'm like, oh wow, okay. So there are great stuff in this movie. I really like it. And I almost forgot, of course, John Williams' score, the classic Star Wars score. They incorporate lots of from the original trilogy, from the prequel trilogy, which was great. And with that, I would give Star Wars The Last Jedi an 8.6. Guys, have you seen Star Wars The Last Jedi? Of course you have, definitely, if you're watching this, I guess. I don't know. But tell me in the comment section below, how do you think it ranks among the Star Wars movies? What do you think of the movie in general? Don't go into spoiler territory, because some people might not have watched it. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your conversation and stuff. I want to know what you think of this movie. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's better than The Force Awakens, or do you think it's worse? I want to hear that. And in a couple of days, I'll be filming a spoiler review. My mind could change by then, I don't know, because this movie, like I said, it is quite ballsy and I'm still trying to process it, but I want to get this review out as soon as possible. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a like, please share it to your friends, leave a comments, and click the bell notification next to the subscribe button if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. Follow me on social media at JAViraDharma. Both I'm active on Twitter and Instagram, both at JAViraDharma. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Oh wait, wrong sign. Lightsaber.